What's up, fellow investigators into incidents involving incarceration? Josh of all trades here, and today we are talking the HBO limited series The Night of, Episode 4, The Art of War. Before we get into the episode, I think it's important to consider this episode's namesake, The Art of War. This book is written by a 5th century Chinese military strategist named Sun Tzu, and it's really held its value against the test of time and highly regarded today for the value this book provides people to make meaningful decisions in the face of conflict. So looking at things from the strategic conflict perspective, let's take a look at tonight's episode. Let's get into it. Now, I once heard someone say, "The hideousness of that foot will haunt my dreams forever." And that's how I felt watching this episode. Stone's feet make me sick. Now, Stone's getting into a new doctor who's going to take a look at his feet and give him some sort of a non-Mickey Mouse medicine, so I really hope that this solves all his problems and makes those disgusting feet go away. But aside from those sick feet, we see John Stone doing a lot of really relevant research in this episode, being very strategic with his decisions. Early on, we see Stone at the funeral for Andrea, and there he spots Andrea's father getting into some sort of conflict with someone, and we hear the words, blah blah blah, send the check. So while there is no conclusive evidence that Andrea's father had a role in her death, it seems like there may be some sort of financial contingency in the events going on around her death. Secondly, with Stone, we have him doing some research on the side and going into the rehab where Andrea had been at, paying off some guy to get information, and now he has Andrea's file, which I think is probably going to contain some very relevant information. And it's worth noting that from the audience's perspective, we see the file going from the rehab to Stone. Stone sells it to Chandra, but Chandra does not necessarily pass this information on to Allison Crowe. So I don't think Allison ever had the information involving Andrea's stay at rehab, and there's probably something very pertinent in there. Moving on to Allison Crowe. Grand opening, grand closing, that's all we get from her. I think that Allison Crowe's brevity in the show, along with the manner that she was introduced and then sent away, was a big missed opportunity for the night of. This seemed to be a very obvious way to dismiss Crowe from the show because first off, she was misleading to Naz's parents about Chandra's role in the case. She was rude to Naz's father in front of the media, and she was rude to Naz himself in front of the judge. And like I said in the last video review, this seemed to me to be a very predictable way to get another attorney into the show and to have them try to settle the case as a plea bargain without really accomplishing much other than introducing Chandra as a new character. But let me give credit where credit's due. The Night of producers did really well in setting up a conflict that drove Naz into Freddy's hands. The pace and escalation of the events, including the destruction of Naz's property and the attacks on his person, were really well timed, and it set up a very relatable scenario that the audience can understand as to why Naz would accept Freddy's offer. This culminated with a disgruntled inmate who actually attacked Naz, saying things like, "I'm tired of guys saying they don't remember nothing and saying that they aren't guilty." Actually, in my opinion, very cleverly verbalizing the audience's feelings at this point in the series. At any rate, the events surrounding Naz and his turn to try to trust Freddy were developed very well, and now we have the cohesion of these two characters while still retaining that doubt in the back of our minds that Freddy probably wants something and we still don't fully trust this character. So where are we going? Now, I've always played a little bit of a skeptic in this, but I still feel justified saying that Naz is probably guilty. And so to really advance the narrative of this, one of two things gotta happen. Naz has gotta remember something, or new evidence needs to come up. And I think new evidence is going to come up from Box doing his job very well and finding some sort of discrepancy in the evidence that he has so far. That's all I got for this week, so go ahead, like this video, leave a comment below if you agree with me or not, and I'll see you following next week's episode. Bye y'all.